Hello and welcome to Arctic Game Talk. My name is Johan and this is my colleague
Therese Mossberg.
Nice to have you here again. First of all, some Arctic Game Lab news. We've said it before and we can say it again. The 19th of May we're going to have a meeting, digital of course, for those that are interested in the development of Arctic Game Lab. We will present some of the results from the first project, Innovation Game. And we'll also have one of the scientists from Jönköping's University who's been following and looking at the cluster development and doing some research on that to describe what he has found. And we will also share some numbers about the companies and the employees and so on that are in the region. You can already now sign up for the event. We will have a link in the chat later and also on the Discord channel, so you can find it and sign up. But I think you should participate.
And then this afternoon we have another Arctic Equality Talk, the third one out of 4. Today's guest is Linnea Harrison. She will talk about equality in teams and projects. So don't miss that one. I think it will be really interesting. To sign up is also a Zoom webinar. The link will be posted in the chat later.
Yeah, and this evening we will have a open box in Luleå for Luleå companies specifically. Open box is an event we try to host to strengthen creativity. It's like a prolonged game jam where companies and those that are interested in developing their projects can participate and help each other out. And we are doing one focused one for Luleå this evening to try to strengthen that municipality and the game development there. But we will also have a open box for where you can participate from all cities, and that's going to be Tuesday next week. And if you're interested, it's going to come a link in our Facebook where you can sign up. You can also describe the projects you're working on, what kind of help you would like to see and so on. And then we will host the meeting as a Zoom meeting with separate rooms for the different game projects. So I think it could be useful for you if you have projects you want to work on, or if you just want to try to collaborate and help with game projects. Yeah, and now we're to some local news then.
Exactly. It's more Luleå now. It's Luleå Makerspace. They will arrange an online Unity intro this Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's free for everyone to participate. Just sign up to their Zoom meeting as well. You will learn a little bit more about Unity, how to create projects and so on. So just sign up.
Super.
And now we have
Ingrid Fridersjö from Luleå.
Hi.
You are...
Have to unmute.
Yeah. Hi, hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm well.
So first of all, we have to say congratulations. We just heard word that you were approved in the process for Venture Cup, and you have moved on to the next stage in the Venture Cup with your game project.
Yeah, exactly. In this regional the regional finals, we won the award Impact Maker for the startup with having the biggest impact on social, economical, or environmental sustainability. So we're very honored moving forward to the finals in Stockholm.
Sounds great. Can you tell us a bit about your game project?
Well, our game is a mobile game that we will gonna soft launch in Southeast Asia in this first quarter of 2021. And it's about the environment, alien coming down to Earth to help us save the planet. And it's an interactive game also where you could share ideas with your friends and family and so on, while embarking on this planet-saving adventure.
Really cool. So you're moving forward now with the Venture Cup. That sounds great. Are you celebrating?
Yeah, we were celebrating a little bit yesterday, but not too much because we have a lot of things to do. So it was like a short break yesterday, and now we're just full steam ahead again to keep developing, using the money that we got from this when we won this challenge to something good in the game and figuring out our next step.
Sounds great. And is this going to be, because the Venture Cup continues, when is the next hard deadline for you?
It's quite long. It's in September, so we have quite a bit of time to have more things happen and fine-tune even more until the finals.
Well, good luck with that. Hope it goes really, really well for you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, and that's the local news. If you have any news you want us to shout out, you can please email us at news@arcticgamelab.com. All right, and now we have some global and event news. So today, the European Games BizDev Gathering starting. It's for publishers and investors and indie companies just trying to find each other, and it's an initiative to strengthen the industry in these Corona times. So we have a number of our Arctic Game Pitch winners that will participate in this, and we hope a number of other companies from the region also will participate. We also have Nordic Game online, which will be quite soon. It's May 27 to May 29. The tickets are 99 euros a piece, and we can probably help with tickets if there are companies in the region that are interested in participating. If you are, you can email me, johan @arcticgamelab.com, and we will try to solve that for you.
And then we have Game Dev Career Days, June 10 and 11. If you're looking for new opportunities in the games industry, just check this out. You can learn a lot from that. It's Eventbrite link. We'll post it in our chat. And then Indigo 2020 will take place June 26th. It's the largest game business and showcase event in the Netherlands. So just check that out as well.
Yeah, we also saw that MeetToMatch and Indie Game Business is arranging a San Francisco Summer Edition 2020, August 3rd to 7, and it's also possible to get tickets for that now. Good.
Yeah, and then we have Games Sentinel. It's a business development platform launching soon in this summer. If you want to register, you can have a free trial account now for the first 90 days. It's a platform for buyers and sellers for video games, so could be useful as well.
Yep. And now some good news. We have one event that's actually happening, and that's Shine Joy in Shanghai, July 31st to August 3rd. And that's the first event we've seen that actually will go on. At least as long as we know right now.
Exactly.
But that's what the news is.
But you just heard that Tokyo Games Show is cancelled, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, we will see where it goes.
And now it's time for the guest of the day.
Yeah.
Peter Jakobsen.
So, welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much. It's an honor actually to be a part of this morning.
We're really
And I
happy
hope actually-
to have you here.
And starting with a fresh cup of coffee and talk about something that is so loving as games is quite wonderful.
Yeah. And you work in a business that's really, really crucial for our companies. We've been talking quite a lot about the needs for our companies, and when we look at it, it's investments, super crucial, marketing and recruitment. And marketing is really up your sleeve. So please tell us a bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, as an intro, I will actually say that you actually touched some keywords there, because you were saying that many think today that marketing can be only about the game, but it can actually also be to attract potentially investors and actually also to attract good team members. So it doesn't always have to be about your game or your upcoming game, but it can be everything around it. Can I share my screen now and start on my presentation? Or?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, I will do that. And it will be like this.
I could also say that we try to collect all questions in the Q&A tool. So you can just write down your questions for Peter and we'll take it afterwards.
Yes. So I hope this looks perfect.
Yeah.
Super. So yeah. So today, I am going to talk about how to think PR. So things doesn't have to be actually so complicated, and often you can make it as complicated as you want. But I want to do it quite simple, and actually touch some of the different things I find actually interesting as points. So some of the points I want to talk about is actually how to think your strategy, how to spot opportunities, how to find angles for your PR campaign, how to take it into action. And then actually I allowed to add something in, how all this have changed over the last years, because I've been working with PR in the industry for 20 years, and I want to share, some things I have seen, why and how it have changed, which can also be quite interesting. And also, please note down all the possible questions you have, because I would love to answer them as good as I possibly can. Yeah, my name is Peter, and I have 20 years experience in the industry. I actually started within sales, selling games, and then went to marketing within the games, and then over to PR. And the time actually when I went to PR, I saw it as it was completely undiscovered at that time. And I thought that PR was like selling ideas. So in old days, if a game got good scores, I got good feedback, and I got, nice positive feedback from my boss. And if games got a bad score and didn't go well, we always blamed it on the developers. So PR at that time was actually good. But I think there's so much more actually in it. We will come to that. Also, I've been lucky to work with developer personalities. So I've been honored to work with people, that have made games that I was playing when I was a child. So games like Sensible Soccer from John Hare, or The Broken Sword from one of my favorites, Charles Cecil. Also, I've been working with a wide range of AAA titles, and during the 20 years, I've been lucky to work for Rockstar Games and Take-Two and old companies as well that is not here anymore, as the older THQ, as Virgin Interactive, Acclaim as well. That was actually one of the biggest companies, or the biggest video game company before actually EA stepped into the market in start 2000. So it have actually been also to a lot of indie, and that's actually what I find very, very interesting today. And I will also touch that, but there is so much more in indie today than I see in AAA titles. It has been to a little bit more than 1,000 titles and game releases. Then we are doing a lot of PR for esport. We have been doing PR for, I've been doing the PR for the finals for League of Legends. A lot TV series among Game of Thrones and Modern Family and Chernobyl. A lot film like The Joker, Star Wars, and so on. So there have been many things, And the common thing for all this, because it's not only video games, is that actually it targets the same target group, more or less. So what I also like is to find out how can we reach this audience that we all wanna target. I was actually seeing this one in an old magazine, which I would like to add in. And it was Bill Gates, he was saying if he was down to his last dollar, he would like to spend it on public relation. And public relation for many people today is something they think this is quite old-fashioned. We don't need it anymore. But public relation is not, about advertising. It's not about that you are getting, one article in a magazine or in a newspaper. But public relation is actually also about, handling content creators, bloggers, influencers, how you can get online, how you can go to forums, how you can get, different activities, and actually everything about visibility. And if you actually want to define what PR is, it's actually, if you take a company or an organization that want to come out with a key message towards, a consumer, handling that message, handling the stream of the messages is actually PR. So every time you start actually doing a strategy or actually take action and handle how you want to communicate from you towards any of your potentially consumers, any of the people who want to buy any of your games or play any of your games, that's actually PR. So it's actually finding the way from us and how to reach the potentially target. And that's why I wanted all of you to take a look and see this for like 15 seconds. Actually, my point with all this is actually that you know, all the stones you can step on, the trees and everything, is a kind of media you can select, or a kind of media channels. It can be influencers. It can be you know, if you want to target you know, older audience, it might be, you know, newspapers and print. It might be, you know, YouTube. It might be different channels you use. So, you know, what you step on doesn't matter actually. The most important is also, you know, how you get your message actually out. So if you order a pizza today, you know, it's about delivery. You know what the person have ordered. So if you deliver it on a bike, or you deliver it in a car or anything like that, on a horse, it's not always the most important thing. The most important thing is actually that it's delivered well, and it's actually what people expect, and they get it in time. So there are some steps here, and I normally put it up in a few steps. You can add on more, but I put in 3 here, which I actually find quite easy. So if you are a new one within gaming and within, you know, PR, I think this can be good. If you are quite advanced as well, I think this also can summarize up, you know, how simply it actually can be done. But I always actually think about, where are we now? Where are we actually, and where are we standing? So that's the point. You know, we have to figure out what is it actually we would like to get, you know, out of getting visible. Is it, you know, to get a #1 hit? That can happen, you know, but you really need to work hard, and sometimes it will take a lot of hours. But it can also actually be to attract more team members, or better team members, or actually establish a team. Alternatively, it could also be to secure investments, because if you had a good investment, you know, you might come a long way as well. And normally I will say that if you have, you know, a good team around you, and you know, also have a fine investment to back you up, most likely you will get #1 one day. It doesn't have to be in US charts #1, but it can be on App Store in one of the categories there. So there can be many things, you know. PR can be to attract, you know, a possible investor also. Step 2 can also be, you know, where do you want to go? And that can actually be leaning towards the next one. What will make you smile? If you imagine that you are sitting in a train, and you're not a part of this conversation, but there are some people sitting behind you in the train, and they're actually talking about a game they're playing, and that's actually your game. You should think about actually, what would you like to hear? What should they say to make you smile? What should they say so when you leave the train, that you are simply flying out of the train and you're smiling? You know, it could be that it was the most challenged game ever they have tried, or the most, you know, the game that really made them, you know, feel scared. Or it could either be, you know, that the game was the most fun time they have ever had, you know, to play co-op. So, you know, the thing that you really want to hear, imagine that you go to a party, and a person asks you, so what are you working with? And you say, actually, I'm working with this game. And you see the person in front of you smile amazing, and just say, you know, wow. And they come with a good you know, feedback to you. What should they say to make you smile? And I will say, what they tell you will actually be your key message, because that's actually the key message you need to get out to your audience. So you have to find out, how do I get this key message to the audience? And you can do it, in many ways. You can angle your stories, and you can also focus on the game. And it's not always, actually, and I will touch that a little bit later, but it's not always that the PR has to be about the game. It can also be about the team. Because imagine you are in that position that is a brand new game, but it's also a brand new team. Even you got €1 million and you could post like big banners on the biggest squares in Sweden. People will still say, we don't know that product or that game, and we do not know the sender also. So you need to build up like some PR behind that, to go out and put focus. And the good PR can also be about the team. Sometimes the strongest PR and visibility can be, the team, and make sure that the people are buying the game for the game. They're actually buying the game for the team because they simply like what the team are standing for. That could also be strong. And it's not even, about getting out for the first time if you are doing your first game to get tons of coverage. It can also be to get the right coverage. Because, when people start to Google you, it's nice to have some good stories about your team, how you work, if you do something every Friday, something fun or something like that. And start with local newspapers. Local newspapers normally have, local media normally have, the highest credibility. And you can practice there and get it out, and then you can move up to, bigger and bigger, and from regional media to like national medias, and then to Nordic and to international medias. So there are like a lot of steps you can think about. So getting a few articles about you and your team could potentially be the best start. Also looking from an investor point of view, if you made a game that was not quite good and the entire internet are filled up with bad reviews or bad comments about your game, can look not so nice for potential next investments. But if you have some really nice articles about you and your team, that potentially can overshadow a less good result, and also make everything look forward. So one thing is that you have the key message, and what kind of PR you want. Do you want to get the number one? Do you want to attract good team members? Do you want to attract good investors? Also, when you have the key message, exactly, this is what I want to hear. If I should have people, or if I should smile and I should make people happy, playing my games. Then you actually also have to find out, how do I get there? How do I get from my ideas, and how do I get all that out? Because it can, be a quite long travel, or it looks like a quite impossible trip. And I would say, there's nothing always, correct or wrong, but it's actually to select a way through, the labyrinth, and actually believe in it and actually follow it. Next time you can always change and, do some small changes and do a little bit extra. But, I like to say, spot the opportunities. For example, if I should do PR about a burger, potentially some medias or content creators or influencers wouldn't talk about a burger, but perhaps they would talk about the bread, or I could actually do, something where I could engage this beautiful old couple who actually do the corn, and harvest the corn and actually bake the bread that is used for the burger. And then we do, a nice story with a twist of the burger. So sometimes it doesn't have to be about the game, but it can be something around the game. Is it a car game? It can be about, cars, and with a twist of that. If it's, a game where everybody is dressed very fashionable, it could be about, how you got inspiration from design and all that. And you can use it in different medias that is not always targeted gaming, but it can be more broad, and you can go broader in that way. When you talk indie gaming today, vs AAA titles also, what I saw a lot was that the bigger titles, the more we talked about how many money we actually were thinking about. The next game would earn. How many money have we been spending on this game? How many people are working on it? What is the new engine? But actually, I think that when you look into indie today, there is so much more. You can generate so much stories about the team, and I will come to that. today, I think that you can say that advertisement reach everybody. So when you of course you can buy advertisement and get on Facebook and get different places, and it's of course targeted, but it doesn't hit everyone. I think that with PR you should you can say that with PR you don't reach everyone, you reach somebody. And for some campaigns today, or most of the campaigns we are doing today, and what I'm doing today is very selected. So I do not bombard people, with news. I actually go out and really try to be selective and actually approach them. I will actually come into that after this. I will show you for like 10 seconds. All that is about being selective, and actually, and of course, many will say, why not just blast our game out to everybody? Not to do any commercials. Today, I'm very lucky to work on a thing for Coffee Stain Publishing, with a game that is launching official today on May 13. And it's the game from Ghost Ship Games that is called Deep Rock Galaxy. And we have had the honor, to work with PR for a wide range of countries, actually from up north down to Latin America. And we have actually some media that are covering up to, I saw this morning, there's a newspaper covering in Brazil 70 million people. And also an influencer that has, I actually had to check on YouTube if it was right, but he had 36 billion views, not unique, but views per month from YouTube. And that's quite insane. And why can we get that? And it's not because I'm a PR agency. You guys can also do that, because actually what I did was actually to go in and find out who have actually showed interest to this game, and then I contact them again, because if they showed interest, previously when the game started in alpha, or they start to write about it, it's most likely that the audience want to hear something about it again. Also, I've tried to ask the developer team, what kind of games did you look up to when you did your game? Is there any games that are very, very similar? Is there something that you had in mind when you did your game? Because also I can do, go out and Google and see what kind of content creators have been talking about a competitor game. Was there any, forums where people was writing a lot about one of the competitive games? Because if there's a good activity, most likely they will also like to write about this game here. So we didn't, target wide, but we're targeting very, very, very selective. We did actually one push a week ago in Swedish newspapers, and we did hit 29 newspapers. Right now, I think we have touched in 14 days 395 medias, and with the audience on a little bit more than 320 million people. And this is by targeting correctly. So about bombarding people today, we don't need that, and it takes like a big system. So I think you should find some people you really want to target, actually find an angle why you target them, because they also get proud that you have been doing a little bit of homework, and then take it from there. When I've been on expos, and I've been lucky to talk with different developer teams, and I've started, if they try to do any PR by themselves, or if they've seen any peaks, in the sales, in that, if their game is in beta, very often it's because some people have been sitting down and actually been looking into, if any content creator or media have been touching something that are similar, and use that approach and actually get your game visible. And that normally works. So it's not about shooting out wide. It's about selecting some and keep writing. People today, I know a newspaper in Denmark are saying that they're getting a press release every 50 seconds. So it's about keep writing. Some of my journalist friends in Sweden I've been knowing for 20 years now. I still have to email them 5 and 6 times before they get started and actively look at what I email. So it's about keep pushing, of course with silk gloves and a smile, but push on, and that actually very often work. So it doesn't have to be so crazy. One case, I really want to highlight. It was a highly honor, and actually to many years back, actually, when I started up on my own, to work with a Swedish team called the Bearded Ladies, and they made it a game called Landed Bandit. And I think what was so wonderful about that team is that they started up in the middle of a recession, like now, and there were not, this huge developer team, and they came, from it was a group of people with different backgrounds, and they actually followed, their belief. As I understood, that some of the people actually lost their jobs. They came from Trollhättan, lost their jobs at Saab factory, and actually then sit down, found out, let's start developing a game. So actually they dared to change. They dared, to follow their dreams. And instead of actually doing a campaign where we focused on the game, we actually focused on the team, and that they actually followed the dreams, and they were actually using something that was a period that was really, critical and dark, and actually use that as something positive and move on. So there was actually a lot of coverage. I remember there was a lifestyle magazine in Sweden called Slits. I couldn't even get Rockstar into that magazine, but we succeeded to get the bearded ladies into that magazine. And you could see that there was so many medias that covered them, not due to the game, but covered them due to them, that they, followed what they did. And I think they were like heroes for many people at that time, that they followed what they did, but everything was a twist of with a twist of the game. So the most PR I supported with was to focus on them and not the game. So that can be one thing, and that's also the beautiful thing about working with indie, that it can also be how you met, how you developed a team. It can be old soldier mates that met each other in a hospital that was saying, we don't definitely want to be soldiers anymore, now we want to do games. Or so it can be a story about that. Also thinking, when you ask children today who their favorite is, and of course a lot will say Messi or somebody who is a soccer player, but actually for many people today, heroes are also those who make video games. And if a lot of children knew that they're sitting in a bus or in a train with actually a hero in front of them, that it would be quite fun. So it can also be a little story about where you come from your local town. Imagine that you have a team of 3 or 5 and you come from 5 different cities. There can actually be a little story about your project and what you're doing. So that could actually be in 3 or 5 different local newspapers or local medias, and that can be a nice start. So always, take it from one step to another one, and then move out. So even the background, it can be used. So even that you don't see yourself as a local hero, you possibly are actually, because you're doing something that sticks out. You entertain a lot of people, and you actually make a lot of people get thrilled or get touched or actually get very, very happy. Also, I had a pleasure. I'm not taking everything recent. I take something that I would like to point out. I had going from Rockstar and then actually working with Saints Row. It was a little bit like a conflict. So I didn't work on the first Saints Row, but the second one I started up to support. And what I liked there was actually that the developer team, when the game was announced, we asked out in all medias and forums, what people, what audience, content creators, what all gamers were saying about, that there should come a Saints Row 2. And there were 99% that was against it, and 1% that was neutral. So there were actually no people actually among any forums that actually was happy about that there should come a Saints Row 2. So, we changed actually the strategy. So we start to look into the forums, not actually what the media were saying. That time you didn't have content creators. But we looked into what the forums were saying. So, we started to post different screenshots, and if, the forums were saying, and the feedback in the forums was saying that the screenshots was too dark or too little action, we changed it. So we made them more light, more action. So every time we didn't look so much at what the media were saying, we looked at what the forum and actually potentially consumer was saying. So we tried to, cut off every negative angle. And actually before we launched the game, we had like 100% positivity in all the forums. So we have actually been delivering everything, that the audience were asking about. Of course, the audience shouldn't make the game, but we used it as as different small guidelines as to deliver a product that they would like. So sometimes it can be quite interesting to see what a forum's saying, and see it as like a co-op. You can spar with them, they can come with things. The campaign actually did win an international award also, for best PR campaign that year within gaming. So and that was due to listening actually to the audience, potential gamers. how things have changed, over the last years. Also, in old days, in very old days, when I started up, I could drive to a media. I had a disc, and they could put it into like a special PlayStation and play it and record it from there. I could take the disc and bring it back. Then you could, send a code, and it would make the things more easy. For example, with Warframe, I had the pleasure to work with it over a wide range of years. And what I actually thought was quite interesting was that, people could do a review. And then I found out that if there were some things that somebody was complaining about or saying it would be wonderful that there's an additional world or something like that, then the developer team started to do that and came out with it like a quarter after. So actually the review that some medias did or content creators could do a quarter back or a half year back could actually be completely outdated. So I had to figure out that if a media are actually evaluating something, there are actually a reason that you can contact them again and ask them to do a new evaluation after some time. So, in old days when people have been doing an evaluation, like a movie, that's it. Then see it more like a TV series, because this is a part, but if you update a game, there's a new part and a new part and a new part. So like you can review different seasons in a TV series, like you can also review, different updates. You see many games going into a beta stage. It's in a beta stage for a couple of years, but there's so many different add-ons. So I think, spot out, medias that started to cover it at one time, ask them to change it. Also ask them to change, the old screenshots, because, if they have been there for a long time, ask them to change it so it looks nice. If you have a new trailer, ask the media to remove the old trailers and put the new one up, because the old trailers will, if they're there too long, they will appear highest. Remove it and get something new in. So, actually a game can actually, easy, have several reviews and or evaluations. And also, if you have been getting a less good evaluation, you can actually always contact the media after some time and say if they want to try to do again, because there are updates that potentially can lift the scores or verdict. So I have been touching here a little bit about where are we now, where do we want to go, and how do we get there. And I think that it's always about finding out, like you saw in the Frogger game, about delivering the message. And you do not have to use a strategy that is either that or that. For example, if you do PR for toys or a children's game, then think about that you have to first do PR towards the children, so they start to say, wow, this is what we like. The parents do not know what it is. After some time, you have to do PR towards them. So for the children, you can go to TikTok, or you can use YouTube or Twitch, or you can do something, But for the parents, you might go online, you might do some newspapers, you might do something different, blogs. So you actually hit the audience in different ways. So it's not that you have to do either that or that. You can actually combine it. And I find out that, more instrument you use, sometimes the music will be more nice also. So you can combine it. So it's actually finding out what kind of medias do you want to use. And then also, if you take your time and find out what should my angle be to approach that media or to that content creator. And that could potentially be that they've been playing games like that before, or touched the same game before, or a certain media have been touching an area like this before. And it doesn't have to be about the game. It can be something different. It could be a fun day, how you invented it. It could be something, a fun day that how you did some motion capture or something like that in the game, or that you were inspired by old history from a certain part of a little city in Sweden or something like that. It could also can be anything that could potentially be an angle. So not always about the game. So I hope that it gave a little bit about think about where are you now. So where do you want to go? Do you want to become number one right away? Do you want to establish a good team? Do you want to get investment? Also, where do you want to go? And find out with the key message, what should that be? And then find out how do we get there. So how do I approach that media? Because there should be a reason why you contact media. So to do a story, you can have, for example, 5 or 10 different stories, and you can select, you can put them and use stickers and actually put them under each. So you can say that those stickers go for this kind of media, this go for this kind of influencers, and this go for that. And by that, you have different angles to approach, because it can't be that the media or influencer will not take, your first selling angle, but they find your second or your third selling angle. That's very, very interesting. So it's about spotting the angle and then actually move on and get it into reality. And I hope I simplified and didn't make all of you a little bit confused about this. I see it, very natural, as I've been working with it for like 20 years. But I always, even when I do PR plans, I always write to myself, where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how do we want to get there? You can potentially add more on, right? For example, how do we know we got there? And that's, putting up some targets, some goals, and then actually do some nice, good reporting, and then see if you actually target or did target your goals. So the last thing is actually if anybody has some questions. So I will fade out of my screen share and go back. Yeah.
Super. All right. We will probably have some questions in the chat. I have some questions already. I have some sound problems. If we can. Yeah, no. Right. Looks like we have some technical problems. All right.
It's okay. Yeah.
Super. Super. Okay. So if you have any questions, please write them in the Q&A tool. I have some questions already. I know, like when it comes to marketing, we usually say that it starts the day you start to develop the game. That's when you need to start doing the marketing. And I know a lot of the companies also have on their wish list, like to have a community manager really early on. Do you have any thoughts regarding that? Is it still true? Is it the way you should think?
Yeah, yes and no, actually. I think that it's what you can afford in your team, people-wise and time-wise. Because if you really are good to make games, you should focus on that. But I have some examples where it's good. I have some examples where people have been going to a crowdfunding and when they started up their going out and building up in a community, that was actually really good, and that actually saved them to get in gold. Of course, you have to think about that. Don't spoil too much, because if you take too much air out of the balloon, then the balloon will not say bang, when it have to say bang, because you have been emptying for all the news. So have a strategy about that, so you don't post too much. But it can have a story, I touched the base with a team that actually started develop a game on the day where the quarantine started in US. So they actually found the team via Discord and actually have never met in real and are actually producing a game, online, working with, so I think all this is actually showing, that you can use community and you spread it out in a way and actually turn a critical situation into something positive. So I think, yes, if you can, and if you have the time and power for it, it could be good. But it's about putting a strategy and make a long timeline and make sure that you come out with some news that suits in time in line with the development. So if you have finished something, if you have some work in progress drawings, you can post it. You can also engage people. Should we choose this or should we choose that? And if you can do that, I find it good. It's also good to establish, a potentially wish list for people on Steam and so on.
Super. Okay, we have a question.
We have a question from an attendee here, wondering about how to get in touch and build a relationship with a game journalist if you're unknown in the studio. Where to start?
At all medias today, there is a contact form, or you can go in and see who actually wrote that article very often, and by going to the redaktion or go down to the editorial staff, you can see it. It's very, very not often. It's very seldom that we have had difficulties, to find a certain journalist or find an editor. I do have respect for media, so sometimes I would also like that this is an advice: go to the editor first, because the editor in charge, of what they should write about. Because then everything comes, from the work stream comes from up and down. But if you find, for example, a journalist that have been playing a game that is covering a game that is like what you're doing, you can write to them and say that you're actually working on a game that is down their alley. If it's a content creator and the content creator have been influencing about something and there have been a good activity, of course they want more blood, they want to be more famous. So you can say, I can see a lot of people who was very happy about what you did, and I have actually more blood for you. I have more game here, or one more game that is exactly what you like to talk about, or what your audience like to talk about. Because what the audience like is what the content creator are doing. They don't want to step out of their comfort room, because then they might lose the audience. So if you can give them more of what they like, also sometimes they have a gatekeeper that very fast write you back and tell how many money it costs. But sometimes you can actually bypass it and actually go via YouTube, for example, or Twitch, and actually see the contact details and write them. And if you write a personal message, I hear actually more and more that they take it. And then it doesn't matter, if you start with the small ones, content creators. I like those actually, because they are those who dare to do something new. The big ones are looking what the small ones are doing. The big ones are not those who are trendsetter and the first movers. That's the small ones, the micromanagement or the micro influencers. So go for the small ones and see what they do, and then potentially you can have some of the big ones actually to look for that and probably also jump on the wagon and cover it.
Good. When we're on the subject of influencers, what's your thoughts on influencers right now? Have their position been changed, or are they still as important as before? Is it like a super crucial part of a marketing campaign, or?
It's when you have a media, very often they work for an editor. When you have an influencer, they can also work for an editor, but many influencers can also work for themselves, So one thing is that you need to follow up. So you know that if you have agreed that they should play your game, even that you deliver a key, it's not equal that they want to actually play it. You need to follow up constantly. But that's also, with potential medias. If you want, have an article, you can follow up, with a smile and silk gloves on, so you don't push too much. I've heard people who did campaigns that were saying, "Wow, we can see on our game or on our app that we have, a huge increasement of followers now or players," and that was simply due to one influencer. But then, the next day, the influencer talk about bicycles then or something like that, and then they can see that people are moved away. But I think actually a nice combo, if I should hit a teenager or a tween or something, I think that the influencers are perfect. And I still think that you can do a good mix there. Personally, I think that when you look into, the cost of influencers today is quite crazy. And I can even still ask myself, who have been putting the prices on what you pay, because it's like the emperor with the new clothes. Sometimes you pay a little bit too much or how can I say? I feel that some companies are paying influencers without actually checking what you can get for your money. Because if you actually do reach out, sometimes you can also have a content creator to look into it and do it in a nice way. Of course, we need to support medias and we need to support content creators who also, to get some money now and then so they can live and so the cycles in the business goes around and works and are healthy. But still, I think it's important. Influencers are very important, but I think it should all go hand in hand. Mix it together with medias, and still, you have a nice mix. Yeah, I think it's actually game by game. You do. There are games that I would not like content creators to play. let's say you have a really nice story-driven game, like with chapters. Imagine you had a Twin Peaks game. I wouldn't like to have that any content creators to play that, because they would spoil everything in the game. But if you have like an open world game, or you have a arcade game that looks fun and you can show something about it, I think that could be good. So it's really about thinking. It's not getting there, for everything. It's about getting something. If you have something that shouldn't be spoiled, you can have them, to do an intro to the game and play the first 5 minutes, and that's it.
Yeah, we have another question here from Isabel. She's wondering about how to think when it comes to paid marketing of the game. How soon should you start with paid marketing?
If it's, as I learned that you build a brand with PR, and you keep it alive with marketing. So if Coca-Cola came today, you would use PR 100% to build it. You build everything with PR. When it is known, you maintain the focus with marketing. So PR is building a brand. Marketing is to maintain the visibility. So that's why Coca-Cola is not using so much PR, but using a lot of advertisement now to keep the logo visible. So, but if you go for example, let's say Facebook or something like that, and you have to know that if you start using Facebook advertise and people click into something you have in development, then that should be a call of action. So either they should go in and sign up to be on a support list or a fan list or on the wish list for Steam, or they should buy the game. So that's why it's nice that they can, when you start the marketing, they can actually go out and buy the game. Because if you do some advertisement and you see the advertisement or visibility, and the game comes out in 3 months, some people might have forgot it already and used the money on a couple of Levi's jeans instead or something like that. I don't know. But so it's when you do it, you have to be ready for something kind of call to action. If you want, to have a people to sign up to get something exclusive news or something like that. So when you start, you need to have something call to action to offer.
It's really interesting, because when we look at especially the mobile game companies, they're always talking about buying users or buying players. That's like the core of their business model, just buying. Could it be a way that they should focus more on PR activities and less on just advertisement? Could it be a way to gain more users and more visibility?
Oh yeah, PR are also used in mobile. I've had the pleasure to work with from Limbo to Kingdom Rush from Iron Heights Game Studios in Uruguay, and PR works actually in that way. I think our target was 200 million for 30 days to hit in the audience, and we did 4.6 billion in a reach. That was not 30 days, but 40 days. So not that we have been targeting everybody, but we target someone. And actually something, when you think PR within mobile gaming, there are two options. You have to think about, is a game for free or is a premium game? Because you run two different campaigns. If you come out with a key for a free game, free to play, many medias and content creators will not be interested in that game because it's already out. They say, why should we cover it? Everybody can download it and play it. If it's a premium game, you can give a code and then it actually has interest for people. So if you run a PR campaign for a free to play game, make sure that all your PR have been running up to the launch. So if you have manual launch on for example, App Store, no, don't put it on automatic that they can launch the game when it's ready. Put it on that you control it. So when the game are ready, give it 1 week or 10 days, have some medias to play it. And then on the day when it goes live, they can post the reviews. Because then, they have been playing something that is attractive. And actually, I must say, it works for me. I'm on Facebook and then I get, targeted with a commercial for a strategy game. I go in and download it right away. So the game needs to be out there. So I think that by with PR building it up and from the day of launch, you can add in advertisement on Facebook. I get hooked by it as well, and I don't know how many games I've been downloading via advertisement also. So I think one thing takes the other thing over, and then when you start your advertisement, you can place like nice interviews about why you did this and why you got inspired and all that, and that also looks nice for potential next investors.
Should we take one more question here from Peter? Small teams where few people have to fill many roles with limited resources. If they have to do PR internally, what are some of the things they can do to the most with the least resources?
I think actually, first of all, again, and that was actually then this one, the thing I did here, and the people are welcome to write. Me and I can actually put the points down actually, and so there are some steps to go through. And I'm also always, ready, to support without for questions and stuff like that, without any, engaging any campaigns, and so I can support there. But on actually that question, I think what I touched here today, really find out what is the goal about, the campaign you're doing. Most likely when you ask people what is the best game, they always say the next one. And therefore, when you're doing something, you're probably building up to the next one because you have a better idea, and the next one. I worked actually with Darksiders 1, and I asked the developer team one time, and they were saying, the reason why we are making number one is actually only to lead up for number 2, because the number 2 is the one where we are presenting a lot. Number 1 is the leading up for it. So when you are a small team, really set the goal. What is it you really want to do? Start first of all with a story about that you are a team, that you have been developing games and or you're working on that game, and where you got inspired. Where do you come from? Are you from a city that has 3 local medias? Contact them and say you have a sunshine story. With all the news today, everything is dark and black and negative and why not? And I know medias also need to have some positive, nice stories. That could be the positive story of the day, with a team. And small cities are used to see that big cities are getting all the fame. So if there is a developer team placed, use that. If you are in Stockholm, you can even use that. You're sitting in a part of Stockholm and use that as a local one. People would love to know that there is some creativity happening. The Nordic are shining. You can even see that a Game Award shows today what kind of games there is from the Nordic region. You have craziest games, in the Nordic region today, and it shows that the quality of the region is amazing high. So find out really what you want with it. Do some stories about the team. Find out. Go and ask some nearby local medias about the team. Find out angles about the game. Potentially actually start spotting what actually did you have in mind when you started the game. What actually inspired you? Those 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Take that, put it on a list. Start looking in different areas. If you really want to do PR in Sweden, or you want to target Russia, or you want to target US or French-speaking countries, find out what was covered there. Who covered the games you benchmark up against, and actually use that as an angle and say, hi John, or hi Francis, I'm writing you because I see that you covered a game that is very similar to ours, and your readers or your audience loved what you did. Here's more. That can be it. And I think if you do that, you don't go for a lot, target some, and then see how it goes, and then target for some more. And if they don't answer, write back again. And if they don't answer, write back again. And if they don't do that, you can write me, and we will kick them and make sure that they will write. But they will actually one another time write, as long as that we are polite.
Super. I think money is always crucial, and it's super hard, and you need to handle it right. And I think it's hard for indie companies to look at PR marketing in a good way. It's really easy just to put it in ads. But if you would start looking at PR, how much should you budget for an indie company, for a launch of a game?
It's actually, if you ask me, it's actually, how wide you want to go. You don't have to roll in the big artillery, because you can also touch. You can send out, something in the world and see how it goes. You can also define before and say, I want to reach. I want to reach a certain amount of medias in this and this, and then you can do it. So you know, you can build a plan. But we have been supporting, I must say, we have been supporting medias from 500 euros and up. And no, not medias, developer teams. We have been doing campaigns that have been huge, and we have been doing campaigns that are smaller. And I think that the return of investment have always been there a lot, you know. And it's really also about being honest to your product. So you don't have, you know, too high expectations. You have to know that there is probably 100 games coming out every day. So you have to find the angle. Imagine, you know, I'm looking into actually a virtual reality game right now. It might not be the best game that is coming out that week or that month, but I'm pretty sure that if we went to Aftenbladet, or we went to Dagens Nyheder, or we went to Expressen or something like that, or we went to Game Reactor or FZ or any of the big medias today, it might not be the best game, but it might be the only virtual reality game that comes out that week. So by using that angle, we can get the coverage, because we say it's definitely the only virtual reality. And then some medias will say, wow, then we take it, because then we have, you know, a mix of different games. I would say for 500 euros and up, if you really want to do it nice, you know, if you want to do it, you know, I would say a couple of €1,000, and then you can do a really good tester, and you can see how it goes. We have been running actually PR campaigns in Asia and in China, and I tried to do it where it will cost a lot, where we got a lot of coverage, but it was not so effective. And I have tried some where we are not paying so much or using so much there, and actually getting a lot. So, and by saying that, actually also I want to say congratulations to Ingrid and her team, you know, for getting the possibilities and this option and those awards and all that. So actually I would say, you know, from short, it doesn't have to be a lot. You can even, you know, send out press releases targeting different people and following up from like 500 and up. But I think a couple of thousand would be okay. If you have 5,000 euros, you will have a very, very good campaign worldwide. If that should be for me.
Super. All right, I think our time is running up. It's been a pleasure to have you as a guest, Peter. Fantastic advice. If there's anyone interested in reaching out to Peter, just send us an email and we'll connect you. It's been really, really good. I just wanted to end by introducing the guest of the week for next week. And this will hopefully work now. So we have Susanna Mesa-Graham from Aldion Invest. That's going to be guest, and she'll make a short introduction here.
Hi everyone, my name is Susanna Mesa-Graham. I've spent about 16 years in the games industry, and I've been asked to share some insights and experiences from growing Paradox Interactive for 14 years, and also, especially now, running an investment company focusing on games and tech. So I look forward to seeing you soon and answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I heard there was some problem with the sound, but it's Susanna Mesa-Graham from Paradox, or she was former Paradox, now she's on Aldion Invest, and they do a lot of game investments, and she will talk about the investor perspective in games. So I think it should be quite interesting for you. Yeah, we're gonna paste the link as well. All right, thank you everyone for joining this week. We're gonna have it again next week, so please join us again then. I'll post the link now, and you can please just stay in the chat on and so on. Right, thank you everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.